This piece, entitled Waltz of the Wicked by Kurt and Moisier, is about a battle between a coven of witches and a gang of skeletons.
The opening of the piece illustrates the witches having a party, dancing around their cauldrons and flying on their brooms.
Their cackling can be heard, loud and piercing.
Nearby, in the graveyard, the skeletons wake from their tombs, disturbed by the loud cackling of the witches.
Ready for revenge, the skeletons sneak over to the witches' party, quiet and quick.
Finally, the skeletons confront the witches, unhappy that they weren't invited.
The witches and the skeletons engage in a fight, bones and brooms flying everywhere.
At the very end of the piece, the skeletons win, breaking a broom and stealing the witch's brew. I guess that's what happens when the skeletons aren't invited to the party.
At the beginning of the piece, we meet our favorite superhero, Violet, the violin player.
She's flying through the
the air, looking for her next mission, when Braun the bass steals 1,000 instruments from the Boston Pops.
Violet Violin quickly comes to the rescue.
Violet unleashes her musical powers to try to stop Braun, but Braun fights back.
After hours and hours of fighting, Violet returns all of the instruments and defeats Braun, or so she thinks.
Celebrating her victory, Violet the Violin goes for a fly to ease her mind.
She glides through the air and her calming music is heard throughout Boston.
But oh no! Braun comes back, and this time he's not only stolen the instruments, but he's also stolen all the music from the Boston Pops.
How will they be able to play?
Violet the Violin soars through the streets of Boston and meets Braun in Fenway Park.
In a fury, Violet and Braun unleash their musical powers once again.
It's going back and forth until one defeats the other.
Who won?
Well,
let's find out.
It was raining that night as Willibus Wallaby walked slowly down Nunnery Lane. It was a light rain, a gentle rain, but just enough to send a chill down his spine. Willibus Wallaby walked along, listening to the sounds of the night. He heard an owl, a frog, a shark, and far, far away, the sound of a lonely violinist practicing scales. But suddenly, it started to rain harder. Yes, it was a heavy rain now. Willibus Wallaby quickened his pace, and as the wind started to blow in great gusts, he began to look frantically around for a place, any place to seek shelter. Suddenly, he saw a house with a large porch and a light on inside. He climbed the steps up to the porch. Finally, shelter from the rain. But not from the wind. That wind, that cruel, harsh wind, it seemed to rip away at his clothing as if it had chosen him, Willibus Wallaby, as its victim. Willibus Wallaby's heart started to beat faster. He knocked on the door. Slowly, slowly, the door opened. But no one was there. Wait, someone was there. Willibus Wallaby looked down, and there, standing before him, was a single, solitary, ghostly white kitty. The kitty approached him. It rubbed against his leg and purred loudly, as if to say, "Dare to enter this house, and you shall never leave alive!" But for some reason, Willibus Wallaby found himself being drawn into that house, as if guided by a force greater than he. Willibus Wallaby entered the house. He found himself being drawn from room to room, as if guided by a ghostly presence he could neither see nor feel. He entered a sort of library. There was a heavy, musty smell in the room. He heard the sound of scuttling rats. Through the dim light, he could make out bookcases towering above him. Never before had he seen such tall bookcases. His eye followed the bookcases all the way up to what seemed like an impossibly high ceiling. He heard, from somewhere, a clock striking 9. felt himself being drawn into the kitchen. There were those scuttling rats again. And then he saw it. On the table, sitting right there, on the table, just inches away from him. Oh, it was too horrible to picture. Yet, picture it, we must. Yes, sitting right there on the table, on a flowery china plate was a cupcake! Yeah, and on top of that cupcake was a sickly-looking orange frosting, and on top of that was a jelly bean! And it was, could it be, yes, on that jelly bean was, oh my gosh! The sheer horror of this sight was enough to shock him back into consciousness. Now, having fully regained his senses, one thought, and one thought only, flashed in his mind like a strobing neon light. Escape. Will-o'-this Wallaby bolted out of the room, down the corridor, through yet more rooms, another corridor, doors bursting open as he flew like a rocket through the house. He arrived at the front entryway, but standing before him again was the purring kitty. However, the kitty was no match for his frenzy, and he ran through the door, slamming it behind him. Safe at last. He.
Our next piece is called M to the Third Power by Carol Nunez. Shortly after receiving this piece, we came to an important question. What does the M stand for? Sure, it could be minor meter mix, since that's what is written on all of our music. That would be too easy. It was decided that the M must stand for mice, angry mice. Now, I'm not quite sure why the mice are angry, but that's for you to decide. We present to you M to the Third Power.
is a Rockin Halloween.